Why your thoughts are not you. Ever feel like your mind is playing tricks on you? What if I told you that your thoughts aren't even really you? Today, we're diving into one of the wildest ideas you might ever hear. Your thoughts don't define you. Imagine for a moment that every single thought buzzing around in your head is like a cloud passing by in a clear blue sky. You might notice them, you might even comment on them, but deep down, you aren't the clouds at all. You're the sky that holds them. In this video, we'll break down this idea in plain language, share some stories, and explore how realizing this can free you from stress and self-doubt. When you're stuck in a loop of negative self-talk, it feels like your mind has taken over. We've all been there, stuck in our own heads with worries that seem to control every part of our day. But what if you learned that those thoughts are just visitors passing through? That realization can be life-changing. Today, we'll explore how understanding this simple truth can lead you to a calmer, clearer life. Let's start with a story. Picture a quiet morning when the world is still and every little noise seems magnified. You sit down with a cup of coffee, and before you know it, your mind is racing. Did I lock the door? What if I left the stove on? Am I making the right decisions? It's like a carousel spinning too fast, isn't it? But here's the kicker. These thoughts are not you. They're just mental chatter, random bits of information and emotion that come and go. Think of your thoughts like pop-up ads on a computer. Some ads are helpful, others are annoying or even downright scary. But if you close those ads, the computer keeps running smoothly. Similarly, you can notice your thoughts, decide which ones need your attention, and let the rest fade away. This idea isn't new. Philosophers, psychologists, and spiritual teachers have been saying for centuries that you are more than your mind's chatter. Modern science backs this up too. Research in mindfulness and meditation shows that when we learn to observe our thoughts without getting tangled up in them, we reduce stress and improve our overall well-being. Imagine your brain as a stadium filled with cheering fans. Each cheer is a thought, a burst of emotion, a memory, a worry, or an idea. But the stadium itself, the arena where everything happens, isn't the crowd. It's the space where the noise exists. Once you start to see yourself as that space, you realize you have a calm center amid the chaos. Let's dig a little deeper. Most of us naturally believe that our thoughts define who we are. We say, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, or I always mess things up. But what if those aren't facts about you at all? They're just thoughts, stories your mind tells itself. The problem is, many of us take these thoughts as gospel truth, letting them shape our identity. Consider these points. Thoughts are temporary. They come and go. Just because a thought appears doesn't mean it's true. Thoughts can be misleading. They're colored by emotions, past experiences, and sometimes even by random brain chemistry. You can choose to watch them. Instead of getting caught up in every negative thought, you can observe them from a distance. This isn't just abstract theory. Studies in neuroscience have shown that the brain has a default mode network, which is active when we're not focused on the outside world. It's like the brain's autopilot. When we're in this state, our minds wander and create stories, often stories filled with anxiety, regret, or worry. The trick is to realize that you're not stuck on autopilot. You can switch off that mode and decide to be more present. Let me share another story. A friend of mine used to be overwhelmed by his thoughts. Every time he made a mistake at work, a storm of self-criticism would follow. He'd replay every error, convincing himself he was destined to fail. One day, he tried something simple. He began to watch his thoughts as if he were a spectator at a movie. Instead of saying, "I'm a failure," he just noticed the thought and let it pass. Over time, the grip of those negative ideas loosened, and he started to feel lighter, more free. That's the power of understanding that your thoughts are not you. They're just visitors. Now, here comes the challenge. It's not easy to detach from our thoughts. Our brains are wired to generate them constantly. It's like trying to stop the wind. Impossible, right? But here's the twist. You don't need to stop the wind. You just need to learn how to stand still in it. The struggle with identification. Many of us identify so strongly with our thoughts that we lose sight of the person behind them. When a negative thought hits, it feels personal, as if it's defining who we are. The consequence of believing everything. If you believe every thought that pops into your head, you can become paralyzed by anxiety or overwhelmed by doubt. The freedom of detachment. When you learn to observe your thoughts without judgment, you gain a sense of freedom. You're no longer controlled by every fleeting idea. This is where mindfulness and meditation come in. These practices teach us to sit quietly, pay attention, and notice our thoughts without getting wrapped up in them. It's not about emptying your mind completely. It's about creating a little space between you and your thoughts. That space is where you discover that you're not your thoughts. You're the one doing the observing. Imagine you're at a busy train station. Every train that comes in represents a different thought. Some are loud, some are fast, some are slow. If you stand in the middle of the station, you'll notice all the trains coming and going. But you aren't the trains, are you? You're the observer, the person watching the trains pass by. Once you see it this way, you begin to understand that your true self is not found in each train of thought. At some point, many of us experience what I like to call a light bulb moment. It might come during a quiet walk, a moment of reflection, or even in the middle of a chaotic day. Suddenly, you realize, hey, I'm not that annoying thought. I'm the one who sees that thought. That's when the magic starts, realizing the separation. When you see your thoughts for what they are, just mental events, you gain a sense of perspective, letting go of the drama. You stop giving undue power to every negative or stressful thought that comes your way, finding inner peace. By not identifying with your thoughts, you create space for calmness, creativity, and happiness. I remember a time when I was overwhelmed by worries about the future. Every time I started to spiral, I'd pause and say, okay, that's just a thought. It doesn't have to control me. At first it was hard. My mind would protest, trying to pull me back into the story, but with practice, I began to see that I could choose which thoughts to engage with. It was like cleaning out a cluttered room. Slowly, bit by bit, you make room for something new and peaceful. The science behind this isn't as mystical as it might sound. Research shows that mindfulness meditation can change the way our brain functions. In one study, people who practiced mindfulness regularly had less activity in the parts of the brain associated with stress and self-criticism. Essentially, by learning to observe our thoughts, we can train our brains to be less reactive. Here's a simple technique you can try. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. When a thought pops up, just label it as thinking and let it go. Don't judge or hold on to it, just watch it pass by like a cloud in the sky. This little exercise is a powerful reminder that you are the observer, not the thought itself. And over time, this practice can lead to a much calmer, clearer mind. Let's talk about that key moment when everything clicks. It might happen during a meditation session or perhaps when you're in the middle of a stressful day. Suddenly, you realize that the negative voices in your head are not the sum total of who you are. They're just passing impressions, like scribbles on a foggy window. When you wipe away the fog, the scribbles disappear. Think about it like this. Your thoughts are like sketches drawn on a chalkboard. You can erase them, change them, or let them fade away. The board itself, which represents your true self, remains untouched. That moment of clarity can be incredibly empowering. It's the point where you understand that you have the power to choose which thoughts to focus on and which ones to let go. You begin to see that the endless stream of thoughts is not a reflection of your true identity. It's just background noise. One of my favorite examples comes from nature. Have you ever noticed how a tree stands tall no matter what the weather is like? The wind might shake its branches, but the tree itself remains strong and rooted. That's the difference between you and your thoughts. Your thoughts might sway like the branches, but your true self is as solid and enduring as the trunk of the tree. Now that we've unpacked this idea, let's talk about how to change the conversation inside your head. I wasn't constantly reacting to every single thought. I was noticing them, learning from them, and then letting them go. That small shift made a huge difference in my life. So here's the big reveal. You are not defined by the chatter in your head. You are not the endless stream of thoughts that pop up and disappear. Instead, you are the observer, the calm, steady presence that watches them come and go. You have a choice. Every time a thought appears, you have the power to decide whether to engage with it or let it float by. You are more than a collection of thoughts. Your true self is deeper, richer, and more resilient than any fleeting idea. The journey to freedom starts now. By embracing this truth, you can break free from the grip of negative thinking and live a life that feels lighter and more true to who you really are. Imagine waking up each day knowing that you are not burdened by every negative thought or worry. Imagine having the freedom to let go of the things that weigh you down and focus on what truly matters. That's what happens when you realize that your thoughts are just visitors and you are the one hosting them. For years, I struggled with the idea that I had to control every thought, to be perfect in my thinking. It was exhausting and left me feeling trapped. But when I finally accepted that I could just observe and let go, everything changed. I began to see the beauty in the chaos of my mind, and I discovered that I had been carrying around unnecessary baggage for far too long. To sum it all up, your thoughts are like clouds passing in the sky. They're here for a moment, then they're gone. You, on the other hand, are the vast, endless sky that holds them. Recognizing this can bring a sense of freedom and peace that's hard to put into words. Remember that thoughts are temporary. Realize that you don't have to believe every thought that comes your way. Use simple techniques like deep breathing and mindfulness to create space between you and your thoughts. Embrace the idea that you are the observer, the one who watches the thoughts pass by and not the thoughts themselves. When you start to live with this understanding, you give yourself permission to be imperfect. You start to see that every mistake, every worry, every negative thought is just a small part of a much bigger picture. And that bigger picture is you, a person who is capable of growth, of joy, and of true freedom. Now that you know your thoughts are not who you are, it's time to put this idea into action. The next time you feel overwhelmed, remember this conversation. Take a deep breath, watch your thoughts come and go, and remind yourself that you're not the noise, you're the quiet center. Practice makes perfect. Try setting aside a few minutes each day to simply observe your thoughts without judgment. Be patient. It takes time to change the way you relate to your thoughts, so be kind to yourself along the way. Keep learning. There's a whole world of mindfulness practices and techniques out there. Explore them and find what works best for you. Life can get pretty hectic, and our minds can sometimes feel like a never-ending movie of our worst fears and doubts. But here's the beauty of it all. You have the power to change the channel. When you understand that you are not your thoughts, you start to see that you have more control than you ever imagined. It's not about silencing your mind completely. It's about choosing which thoughts to pay attention to and which ones to let drift away. Let's leave you with one final thought. Every day you have the opportunity to stand back and observe the whirlwind of ideas and emotions that come through your mind. Instead of getting caught up in every negative notion or anxious worry, you can choose to be the calm, steady presence in the midst of it all. Imagine you're watching a movie where the main character discovers that they've been living a lie. Their thoughts, fears, and doubts aren't who they are. That moment of truth changes everything. You realize that you have the power to rewrite your own story, to decide which thoughts deserve a place in your life and which ones should simply fade away. When you start to see yourself as separate from your thoughts, you unlock a new level of clarity. The world starts to feel less overwhelming, and you begin to appreciate the simple beauty of just being. You'll start noticing how much energy you save by not getting tangled in every little worry. That energy can then be used to do the things you love, spend time with people who matter, and explore new passions. Remember, you're not the chatter, you're the silence that follows it. Embrace the journey. Every day is a new opportunity to practice letting go. Find joy in the process. There's something deeply satisfying about realizing that you have the power to choose your own path. This isn't just some abstract idea, it's a practical way to live a happier, more balanced life. It may sound simple, but sometimes the simplest ideas are the most profound. When you start to live by the truth that your thoughts are just passing visitors, you open up a world of possibilities. You can finally stop letting every passing worry define your day and start focusing on what truly matters. The present moment, your passions, and the endless potential that lies within you. I want you to take a moment and think about all those times you felt overwhelmed by your thoughts. Picture them as little clouds drifting by. Now, imagine how much lighter you'd feel if you could simply let them pass without holding on. That's what I'm inviting you to do today. Let go of the idea that your thoughts define you and start experiencing the freedom that comes with knowing you're the observer, the steady, unchanging presence behind every fleeting idea. The journey might seem a bit challenging at first. There will be days when it feels like your mind won't give you a break, but each step you take, no matter how small, is a step toward a more peaceful, empowered you. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. There's a whole community of people exploring these ideas, sharing tips, and supporting each other on the journey to mental freedom. If you're curious about more practical tips and stories on how to live with a calm, focused mind, stick around. There's so much more to discover about the power of observation and the incredible benefits of mindfulness. Whether you're just starting out or you've been on this path for a while, there's always a new insight waiting around the corner. Now, before you go, I have a little challenge for you. The next time you notice a negative thought creeping in, don't try to fight it. Instead, give it a nod, smile, and let it pass by like a friendly stranger. See if you can do that for a whole day. It might sound silly at first, but trust me, it's a game changer. So, take a deep breath, stand back, and watch your thoughts come and go. Embrace the truth that you're not defined by that mental chatter. You're the calm, quiet center, the unshakable presence that lies beneath the noise. If you try this challenge even once, you might just find a little bit of freedom in the midst of all that chaos. And who knows, that tiny moment of clarity could lead to a whole new way of living, one where you feel more in control, more at peace, and a lot happier overall. If you enjoyed this dive into the mind and discovered something new about yourself today, I invite you to stick around and explore more ideas with me. There's a whole world of insights waiting in the next video, just a click away. Remember, every thought is just a fleeting visitor. You are the steady, quiet presence that lets them come and go, free to choose which ones to hold on to. Stay curious, stay mindful, and keep exploring the incredible power of your own mind. Watch the next video to keep this journey going and see just how much more there is to learn about being the true, unfiltered you.